Iran has been subject to it's an incredibly complex political system with these parallel institutions of power. But people don't like seeing their sisters killed.
Welcome, Philip. How are you?
I'm well.
So, very interesting, these predicting, being able to predict the next January 6th or things like that. How did you get into thinking about things like that?
It actually went back to my days in graduate school. I was a joint major in mathematics and political science and ran into the work. It's now about a century old. In fact, it is a century old, by a British meteorologist, Lewis Richardson. He actually invented numerical forecasting. His work had recently been kind of rediscovered, including by my dissertation advisor, Dina Zinnes. So I started working with his work. Turned out it didn't really work on this kind of problem, but I mean, it was interesting stuff, but it was more, first half of the 20th century. And then I continued working off and on it. Again, people have been working on this for about a century now and pretty consistently for the last 50 years. And I got involved in some of those projects, knew about others. And then as the US government got more involved, I was involved in a couple of those large projects.
So first off, you're doing this around the world. Did you ever think you'd be doing it here in the United States?
No, I am not doing it in the U.S.
Right.
But some European projects obviously are.
I mean, the idea being to predict whether there'll be violence here in the United States.
Yeah, political instability generally. Yeah, but usually, everything from large scale protests to civil war. I mean, we do predict those in other countries. I'm sure the Europeans are modeling it for us, for the U.S.
But how do you go about building a model for the U.S.? Because it's like, I just don't even know what because I'm assuming you're only going to look at a few predictors. You're not looking at everything, right?
Yeah.
So how are you thinking about it?
Yeah. Political science has a lot of good theory on this. And in fact, one of the key theorists, a guy named Ted Robert Gurr, who died a couple of years ago, wrote a book called Why Men Rebel. And it was in response to the instability in the US in the 1960s, which, as you'll recall, is way worse than what we're seeing now. And more multifaceted. So anyway, Ted wrote that. There were several other things. There's a very and then once you go globally, political scientists recognize this is a big deal. Yeah. And we got a lot of theories, and they tend to converge on a relatively, actually a very small number of variables. So even though you can start with a lot of variables, you end up with a half a dozen or so do almost all the work.
What are the variables?
Yeah, well, once you interpret them, they're all commonsensical, but you got to find them first. Okay.
Right.
So the five that just pop up over and over again is level of economic development, GDP per capita typically, the type of government, and that's typically just look at authoritarian versus democratic with a few intermediate cases. Whether the country has a history of violence, and that's a huge predictor because once country, I mean, you just look at the countries that have been in violence for decades, like Afghanistan, Somalia, and Yemen. Whether there's violence in the area, violence tends to be somewhat contagious, sometimes very contagious. And then the one that surprised everybody when it first came out was infant mortality rate. And people didn't know what to do with this. It was one of the early, very surprising things. And at first it was, oh yeah, people's kids die. They get pissed off. They go out and demonstrate. Well, they're unhappy, I'm sure. But no, what it is it's a good measure of what we now call state capacity. And it's also a reliable measure. It's pretty unambiguous, and you don't have perfect data, but for the most part, it's compared to like measuring wealth or income or something like that. It's very easy. But the main thing is, if you don't get that right, there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff you're not getting right. So, the government's probably corrupt. The roads have potholes. Electricity supply isn't reliable. The doctors and nurses have immigrated, et cetera.
Right.
People are kind of unhappy about that, or some people, because it did seem counterintuitive. We've done a lot of robustness checks, and it just works really well.
Now, the fourth one of those is whether there's I think you said adjacent violence. That's a
Yes.
local measurement. The other ones are global measurements for the particular country.
Yeah, now I'm talking about at most of these models at the moment, this is definitely changing, are at the country level. So two major, regime changing events in our lifetimes have been the Arab Spring and then the collapse of communism in the Eastern Europe, and then finally Soviet Union. Well, all of those were geographically contagious events. Now, one worked, the other one didn't really, but one can see, spillover effects. You see that a lot in East Africa, for example, that, something gets going in Rwanda, it spills over to the Congo. From the Congo, it goes into Uganda, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, well, actually, Uganda's pretty stable right now, but yeah.
Now, infant mortality, how do you, because I can understand how you can back test a lot of these and look at whether they work before. How do you separate signal from noise on something like infant mortality that doesn't necessarily seem like it would be a corollary? I mean, at least intuitively.
Yeah. You do the best you can.
Yeah.
And, obviously that does not change very quickly. These models have what I'm calling a speed, actually a lot of people call it a speed limit. Okay, so we can get up to about 85% accuracy, and then there's some pretty, again, commonsensical reasons you can't get any higher. So I get the question, well, can you improve the accuracy? Well, probably not, because things like extreme weather events, volcanoes, tsunamis, and then some people don't want you to know, particularly in this field, what they're up to. So it's what I call rational randomness. They'd be crazy if they made their intentions more clear than they are.
So how far out do you, what's the lead time? And then how is it used and shared so that an existing regime or government can understand what's going on and try to, prevent or whatever, depending on what they want to have happen, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Let me deal with the first question. There's an easy answer, and the second one gets really complicated. Okay, so the work to date has mostly been at about the 2-year of lead time. And what we're seeing right now in a number of projects is shortening that, because we wanted to get the stuff to work at all. And 2 years is also kind of the planning time for a large government like the US or the Europeans. Now people are shifting way back down to 6 months or even more recently. And again, these models we've just begun to get, and they're going to use different types of variables, because stuff like infant mortality rate doesn't change. But in particular, what's the political, what's going on in the country? Is everything quiet, or is everything, suddenly every city has major demonstrations like we see in Iran in the last month, and so forth, that kind of thing. Now, who gets to find out and when and so forth gets really complicated. I wrote a long blog post on this, because originally when I got into this, I was thinking, well, transparency. And we've got some models that are totally transparent. But when I talked more with people, particularly, for example, in the World Bank about this, they said, look, we could end up making things worse. Okay, and I'll give you, suppose you've got a country that, well, I'll take a concrete examples. Central Nigeria is kind of unstable, but not horribly unstable. It's not as bad as the Northeast. But, one of the things that would probably stabilize that, because it's a transitional economy, is more international investment. Less corruption would also help, but more investment. But if somebody says, oh, here's the World Bank, and they say Central Nigeria is really unstable, well, you're not going to put a factory there. And so you can end up with this self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think there are perfectly good reasons why some of these things need to be non-public. That said, the advantage of this approach is all this stuff is open. Okay, the methods are open, the data is open. There's a wonderful project, or highly recommended, called VIEWS, just VIEUS, Violence Early Warning System, out of Norway and Sweden. They just got another big grant. They got everything. They got, here's our data, here's our results, here's, so you got to have some technical expertise, but this is all stuff that data scientists use all the time. And the data is now public, and the data, this is a big difference from, say, 30 years ago. So the data is readily accessible on the web. So it's not a case where you got to go to some library somewhere or the UN statistical. It's all, or something close enough to it, is all on the web. Yeah. So we can have, I think what we're going to end up with is a lot like, for example, Amnesty International. They've got the same problem. Okay. So Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch and all these, sometimes it's better to work quietly, because if you come out and say, you guys are mean, nasty people, they come back and say, yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet, and so these groups realize, if we can be quiet, we can, get people released or better conditions or whatever. But you've got both. You've got the quiet stuff and you've got the public. And then other times Amnesty comes out and says, hey, look, this is a war crime, and so forth. I think you'll see both. You'll see these official models, and again, some of these are governments, some of them are groups like the World Bank and so forth. And then you'll see the very, very public-facing things. And again, I think they're doing a marvelous job, like the Peace Research Institute Oslo and Uppsala University in Sweden. And this is the VIEW system.
So this work is really about decreasing violence. It's not predicting what the Arab Spring is going to come out as. This is about predicting where there's going to be a violent action.
For the most part, there are other models that there are actually models for what we call democratic and authoritarian transitions, which are, just what it sounds like. And so I don't, Arab Spring caught everybody by surprise. The data there wasn't that great compared to some places, but yeah, you can use a lot of these same methods.
Now there's been repetitions through history of certain patterns that exist
Yes.
So when we say the data, how far back does it go? Do you go back to Gibbons, or do you go back to, what is the data set?
Yeah, that's a good. So when Tom Schelling, the Harvard strategist, wanted to understand nuclear war, he went back to Julius Caesar, But the current international system really dates to about 1980, in the sense that that's when the European economies have recovered from World War II, and the Asian as well. And that's also when decolonization. So we often don't even go that far back. You can do it. There's some data there, again, public data sets. The Klein Center at the University of Illinois has this, goes back to World War II. But if you get into the 1950s and 60s, you're in all this messy decolonization stuff, and it doesn't tell you that much. A lot of times it's really 2000, the year 2000 to the present. But again, if you're dealing with monthly data, that's over 50, or I'm doing the math wrong, but it's 25 data points. Yeah. And again, when you start going to these, or maybe a little bit, you push too much further back. And again, you're really into post-Cold War instability like Yugoslavia and places.
And does that instability throw the model off, like as if you're looking at a different structure and so the same variables no longer hold true?
I think in some of these the post-communist transitions, for example, in Yugoslavia, that's just so completely different than your typical, instability. It's an interesting question. And what one of the things I always tell people is, great, you got your model, and these are all probabilities, but I said, now look at where you're wrong and ask, why are you wrong? I'll give a favorite example. So they did a lot of work with ethnic diversity, and the notion is if you got a bunch of different tribes speaking different languages, you're going to be more unstable than otherwise. Well, a country that just jumps out at you on that is Switzerland. Okay. It's one of the most stable countries in the world. Now, of course, it's very wealthy, but nonetheless, you take another wealthy country with ethnic, Canada had, very serious violence in the 1960s. So you kind of play around, you look at where you're right and where you're wrong and try to adjust. Yeah.
A lot of that is about taking our own assumptions out of the model, trying to take our own, that we're viewing the model, we're part of the model. I mean, how do you strive to do that?
Yeah, part of it is, again, looking at alternative formulations. So it's not the case, we got so much data, we got so much computing power. You don't want to just say, okay, here's my model, my sacred model, and just play with one model. You want to play with lots of them. One group I was working with, I didn't do this. I kind of feel sorry for the guy who did, but they tested something like 2,000 different variations. So they were trying to find out whether that infant mortality thing was a fluke or whether there was something better. And turned out it didn't always come up to the top, but it was consistently there. So yeah, and again, you read quantitative political science journals now, and people run literally hundreds of models. And again, you don't want to just say, and then take the best one. That's a series of problems with that too. But you can adjust. It's a very good example that just works almost perfect. Well, not quite, but the hurricane track thing. Okay, so how do these people come up with, well, it's going to hit Fort Myers, but we hope it doesn't hit too close to Fort Myers? They run a whole bunch of different models with slightly different assumptions because they know, yeah, we got this much data, but maybe it's off and this buoy disappeared and blah, blah, blah. So they vary the assumptions a bit. And then, of course, there are these two major models. There's a US and there's a European model for this and for winter weather events. We don't do it quite that systematically, but it's the same general notion as the hurricane track.
In weather, it's simple to run a regression algorithm because there's been all these storms all the time. Yeah. So, if here we take all the data from 1980 forward, are we just looking at what has happened in all these different countries and then trying to run a regression algorithm to see where we are in a specific country?
You have absolutely nailed our big problem, which is these are rare events, okay? Or they're relatively rare compared to, say, hurricanes or, winter storms, or, you look at all the predictive models that Google and Amazon, they're talking about billions of interactions a day. And some of these things, for example, coup d'etats, there's typically about 3 or 4 a year. So, even if you've got 40 years of data, don't have very many cases. I think one of the reasons it took a while for this stuff to gel, when I was, back in graduate school in the early 70s, we were looking at international conflict, just at the point where international conflict was pretty much dropping off a cliff.
Right.
Russia, Ukraine accepted, but and so we just didn't, we were trying to predict a post-conflict world from conflict data. When the contemporary stuff is more likely to look at more common things like large-scale political demonstrations. Good example of one that's kind of interesting. I don't think we still really understand it, were the Yellow Vest protests that were mostly in France, but they also spilled over to other places in Europe, limited extent in the US. And a very leaderless, kind of an amorphous, it was a right-wing or right-ish populist thing. And sort of the original trigger, I think, was a fuel price increase in France. So that's the sort of thing that, once they happened, they basically kept going until COVID shut everything down. So, that's a bunch of data. And it's a different type of protest than your typical, there were these series of so-called color revolutions that were following the models of Gene Sharp. So we had, depending on how you count, 4 or 5 of those. So it's not zero. It's obviously not zero. There's a small number, but it's a small number. Yeah.
Is there anything that has surprised you? So when we're still looking at sort of potential violent or, government overthrows or political violence, has anything surprised you in, let's say, the last 5 years, or your colleagues where we might have gotten it wrong? Because the variables are different, as you were saying, to weather. So, and then if so, what was it? And then how do you adjust? Do you have to kind of figure out, then does the model change? How do you adjust to that? If anything has surprised you, which.
Yeah, the big surprise was the Arab Spring, and our sponsors are not happy about that. And that surprised everybody. I think the contagion aspect of it, the fact that in Egypt in particular, you'd had a regime that everybody thought was never going to change. And in the end, it turned out it didn't. But it was, again, this contagion effect where this fruit vendor gets beat up by a cop in the little regional capital in Tunisia. And, 6 months later, the Egyptian regime has been overthrown. And then, the Syrian civil war and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that was clearly a big one. A lot of these are not really that surprising, and you wouldn't expect them because, there are areas that we know. Look, take Sudan. Sudan has had essentially nonstop demonstrations for, it must be close to a year and a half now, due to the coup there. Well, okay, it's probably going to continue to have demonstrations. Iran, the most recent stuff we've been seeing, really was quite a surprise, including to the regime. But there were a series of fairly similar, basically middle class demonstrations. So we wouldn't expect to see something, for the most part, totally out of left field. What's more common actually are the false negatives, false positive, I'm sorry, countries that we would expect to see more unstable than they are. And a good example of that, I think, in everybody's model is China. And obviously the Chinese Communist Party is concerned about this too, or they wouldn't be spending billions of dollars monitoring the internet and all the other stuff they do, locking up Uyghurs and everything else. Lots of,
not just locking them up, killing them.
and killing them and doing all sorts of nasty stuff. And, it's a pretty brutal regime. Well, why is it brutal? Because every political science theory says as you develop a middle class in a authoritarian regime, they're going to revolt against that. And we saw that in South Korea. We saw it in Taiwan, way back. We saw it in France in the 18th century, et cetera. Yeah. If China were to erupt in the type of disturbances that we're seeing in Iran, I mean, it would be over a different set of topics. I don't think that, on the one hand, it wouldn't surprise anybody. And it would be consistent, I think, with almost everybody's model.
So is your position impartial? Are you impartial, or are you a democratic institution? Like, how's your, as an institution, your work?
Yeah, no, I'm biased towards democracy and people having rights and not getting killed and being able to express their opinion. Oh yeah, I definitely feel.
The fact that you have this outpost, so we have all the data we have, and as you've alluded to, it's imperfect like everything else, right? When a government institution's coming to you to look at this data and try and understand it, and they don't understand machine learning, what are those meetings like, and what are you trying to get across there? Because you have sort of an idea of the way the world works, you have some testing that holds up, but then you're sitting with a person, and you sort of alluded to it in the beginning, you could be negative, you could be positive with them. I imagine these are quite sensitive conversations.
Yeah, sufficiently sensitive that they don't include me in them.
Oh, okay.
What we do is those of us who
I've got some of those kinds of things.
I talk to the people who talk to the people who
I understand
talk to the people. It's
so is that a sort of a diplomatic, is that person with a diplomat background so that they can put this information across?
Well, I'll tell you one thing we do, and I should say everything I'm saying applies both to the US and the European. Mm-hmm. We get in these long discussions of how do you get this across to people, because you've got so many different, particularly now with the generational difference, because younger generation, they love models, they love graphical displays, they've been grown up with them, they or they're quote digital natives. Whereas, maybe the person you ultimately want to get to is literally 70 years old, and they're very smart and they've got lots of experience, but it's like, why are you sending me? And we've got another problem that the early models didn't work. Okay. And then there's the question of another really interesting question is some people say, if you give me a false alarm, I'm never going to believe you again. And other people say, I don't care how many times your model is wrong. When that bolt out of the blue, the demonstrations in Beijing come on, I want to have known about that in advance. Well, those are polar opposites. They're way, and it's hard to, and I've literally sat in, it was a UN meeting where within 15 minutes, people presented that too. And it was all secondary. My boss says, blah, blah, blah. But we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how you present this to these multiple audiences. I gave a this was years ago, it was probably 30 years ago. I don't forget who it was, but it was some agency of the US government. And there were these young people sitting in the front, and then around the back were all the old, and they were mostly guys at that time. Nowadays, you get men and women pretty much equally, or if anything, disproportionately women. But anyway, The people in the front, oh yeah, this is cool, great, we love it. And the people in the back of the rolling their eyes, and they'd had smartphones, they would have been checking them, but they didn't have them at the time. Yeah.
I have a question about, okay, so let's say you do deliver, somebody on your team delivers that information, there's going to be a demonstration or whatever. Okay, what do you do about it? Because the unintended consequence of that's more crackdown, does that help us move towards a more authoritarian situation? Like, even with the knowledge, what really can be done? I mean,
or do you even recommend a course of action, or
Right,
do you
well,
just say, here's the knowledge and
Yeah.
Here's the knowledge, but what do we do? I mean,
Yeah. I'm recommending course of action is above my pay grade. I way above my pay grade. A lot of these, again, we're looking pretty far out. We're not saying, but there are models out there that actually some pretty good ones now that can do this really short-term stuff. But we're talking about, is this country generally stable or is it generally unstable? And you can think of all sorts of responses. It depends on the country. And so, if it's a U.S. ally, and some of our allies are not necessarily great on the human rights thing themselves, you could imagine somebody saying, hey, by the way, you guys think you have this under control, and our data says otherwise. And I'm sure that conversation has occurred. If it's some country we don't have that kind of influence, there are plenty of those as well, and you think it's going to be really bad, there's a bunch of, particularly, instability nowadays is almost invariably accompanied by refugees. And those are going to be spilling over to the border. And just on pure humanitarian basis, you want to make sure they got food, tents, medical, water, et cetera. And the international community is pretty good at responding, but that takes some time. And if they're spilling over into a U.S. ally, then you definitely, you don't want these refugees to be destabilizing.
We might have thought of that before we destroyed Syria, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And, a good example right now where it's a very, very serious problem is the Muslim refugees in Bangladesh out of Myanmar. And Myanmar is, I would argue, not a country we're particularly interested in the government surviving, and they may not. But Bangladesh is definitely our ally and definitely has got a major refugees.
How do you think about a problem for the Rohingya, which don't have a home in either place? It's like and obviously there's violence, it's like they've been, they're being exterminated there as well.
Yeah. It's not the first time we faced that problem.
Yeah, that's not, I guess the refugee thing is not one of your variables though, right? Or is
it's not, no, it's not ours. There are other people working explicitly on the refugee thing. I think it's almost inevitable.
When you look at North Korea, which is very hard to have any data, it's sort of opaque. Do you have a feeling about whether, violence or change is possible there?
That is more than any other place literally on the planet is the place we have no information. Yeah. So at that point, you fall back on, the traditional methods of, interviewing refugees, monitoring, you do have. And we've got satellite information now, so we can see how many trucks are backed up on the border, and we see the development of prison camps and stuff like that. Yeah.
When you look at Iran, which being that I don't really have I don't have any predictive capability whatsoever. But when I look at Iran, I would have thought, wow, this is stable. They're not going to change. But then you have this, one hijab. Comes off and it sparks this change. I wonder, I don't know how you feel about it, Priscilla, but I wonder whether those people are going to be okay. They are being subjected to violence even as we speak. And is change possible in a place like Iran?
Right.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't just a new job. The woman was killed by the security forces.
Yeah.
And there have been the last figure I saw is 200 people have been killed. And that's probably a low number. Iran has been subject to periodic, it's an incredibly complex political system with these parallel institutions of power. But this is the fourth or fifth, depending on how you want to count, major outbreak of anti-government demonstrations. The other ones ended up collapsing probably because they were too narrowly focused on the elites, or the counter elites or whatever. This one seems to, it's gone on far longer than anybody expected. And there's a major actor that hasn't weighed in, which is the army.
Mhm.
And you've got the Revolutionary Guards. Again, it's a parallel structure, but people don't like seeing their sisters killed.
Well, so, I think on the prep call, you talked to our team about low female literacy as well as another
Yes.
predictor, right?
Yeah.
It goes along with infant mortality. And do you think that that could, and again, we're asking you to predict something now, it's theoretical, but with highly educated Iranian women, and so
Mhm.
the ability for the sustaining of, protest or whatever, and like you said, people don't want their sisters being killed. A woman, it's complex there because on the one hand they're revered, on the other hand they're not. So how does that come in? That the female factor, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's quite important. And I also, when I was talking with some of your people earlier, I mentioned the work of Valerie Hudson at Texas A&M, who's done a lot on the unique aspects of women's political involvement. I think, that might be the thing that makes this set of demonstrations different. And again, second, really only to infant mortality rate, female literacy rate is a very good predictor of a whole bunch of other stuff. Male literacy rate is not. But in the case of Iran, these are educated women. A lot of them have, actually, what the regime considers Western value, or certainly pro-democratic values. Those are not uniquely Western by any means. And that could be a difference. And that's very different, for example, than Sudan. But then Sudan has also sustained protests now for, I think it's over a year now. And their female literacy rate is quite low, even in cities like Khartoum.
Do you think though bandwidth or access to broadband or internet or whatever, is that a new factor that's coming in?
Yeah, it's clearly a new factor. Now, what we don't know is how it plays out, because it can be controlled, it can be shut off, it can be monitored. You can have the security people pretending to be organizers. But it's interesting. I think is another reason the Iranian regime is really concerned. If you go back all the way to 79, to the original Iranian Revolution, that was spread through cassette and videotapes of sermons by the Ayatollah Khomeini, and through these cassettes, there was basically saying rise up and make and it was successful, and so I think this all goes back to lots of theorists, but particularly Marshall McLuhan. When you get new methods of information, new information technologies, whether it's the printing press, which set off about 2 centuries of warfare in Europe, or radio, television, now they tend to be destabilizing. There was this brief moment, 5 years, when these color revolutions came in and said, oh yeah, it's all the internet. Well, some of these people were using the works of this theorist named Gene Sharp, who basically wrote this massive treatise on how you overthrow your authoritarian regime. I think it's close to 1,000 pages. And these people have been preparing for literally years, in places like Syria and Ukraine, to do this. In some places they also, ultimately it failed in Egypt, but they at least it worked for a little while. So that's just a book, and that's not the internet. But having said that, there is so much information available, and it's not just the internet. Obviously, it's cell phones and messaging, TikTok, except it's controlled by an authoritarian regime, et cetera.
We're hyper aware of violence now. If there's something that happens around the world, we tend to know about it. We're made aware of it immediately.
Yes.
But if we look at it traditionally from the year 1000 forward, I think we would have to say that there's less violence going on around the world. Is this a phase that we need to work through to get to a better place? Are you an optimist for the future? What is studying all of this subject? What have you come out of it with?
Yeah, I am, for the most part, an optimist. Steven Pinker wrote a book about 10 years ago that got and it used a lot of the same data and research that I'm involved in. I think it's called Our Better Angels, arguing this. And then it got a lot of people upset. People don't like to be told that, things are better. I don't know why, but they don't. Again, there have been a tiny number of major wars, and this one going on right now is a really big deal that people did not expect. But for the most part, international war, certainly at the level we saw in the first half of the 20th century has disappeared. Knock on wood, we have so far managed to be, 70 years into the nuclear era and not had a nuclear war. Even, a lot of areas that had a lot of domestic instability, decolonization was really messy. And you look, for example, the massive loss of life with the partition of India and Pakistan in 48. We can almost count the major, there's still some really bad stuff that happened, like ISIS and stuff like that. But most people are healthier, wealthier, more secure than they have been, or their societies are, than they have been any time in human history. And again, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But yeah.
Do you ever put in then, so you have, let's say, 80% of what you think, do you ever put that X factor in? That would be the leader of Russia, the leader of North Korea. There is that X factor. And how does that sit with the model? Where does that come in?
Again, we've got that speed limit up there at 85%, which also turns out to be the speed limit for the very best of the human predictive X, the so-called super forecasters. And that's where the Putins come in. That's where the tsunami in Indonesia wiping out the Aceh independence movement. That's where volcanoes in the Philippines persuading the U.S. to leave, and stuff like that come in. Yeah, it's that leftover 15%. Now, in the case of Putin, that's a pretty serious 15%. Yeah. Most of the time, it's just kind of on the margins.
It's hard to understand his perspective. Like why he's going to attack Ukraine. You try and think about War and Peace, or Tolstoy or Dostoevsky. Underground Man. You try and think back through these things about how they might be rattling around in his mind, even Pushkin. But it seems like, what's the gain for him? It's hard to predict something like that. What does extreme climate, say COVID, do to the model? Beyond just people going after resources in terms of their water or something like that, what does COVID do? It strikes me as a great opportunity for nations to cooperate. And in fact, what we found was that nobody cooperated with anybody, and everybody was a bit of an ass about the whole thing. So what does that do in the models?
Yeah, I think what we're going to see, again, it's kind of a little early to tell, but no, I like your example, because everybody, there used to be this old saying, I think it was even Nixon or somebody always said, if the Martians invaded the world, we'd all come together and fight them off. Well, that's kind of what COVID was the Martians. Right. What do? We didn't we cooperated enough to get vaccines, but that was overly optimistic. We're obviously still seeing I don't think Ukraine-Russia is a COVID out, but the instability, for example, we're seeing in Britain right now, or for that matter, the US, this whole inflation thing is global, and this is all post-COVID supply chain and so forth. So I don't know, the predecessor to COVID, the 1918 so-called Spanish flu that actually started in Fort Riley in Kansas, didn't really have any discernible international effects, and we may kind of see that with COVID. Extreme climate events, on the other hand, we're all aware that this might be changing the game. We know that traditional climate stuff doesn't have as much effect as people think. The fight at the water hole is actually mythology. But the sort of extreme stuff we're seeing now, like a third of Pakistan being underwater due to flooding, and sea level rise, again, speaking of refugees, these droughts that last 20 years, that's a lot different than a drought that lasts 4 years. But trust me, quote, we, in the sense of the conflict forecast, we're on it. And everybody is aware. But again, it's like, you don't have that many cases of a country being a third of the country being underwater. And some of the stuff has been adapted. Bangladesh is done a marvelous job of preparing itself for a lot of these extreme climate events. It's still, most of it's just a few feet above sea level, so it's going to have some serious problems, but at least they're prepared for it.
So are you building one data set with a lot of different pieces of the model that you don't necessarily plug in unless you need, like if climate is going to be a thing, do you keep it out, but then you can always plug it in and come up with an alternate number?
Yeah, again, all of these things we're playing with and again, I'm talking about it in research community of dozens, if not, I don't know, we're in the hundreds, but there's certainly dozens of major research groups. The data is easy now, and then again, this Norwegian Swedish thing, they've got all their data. Anybody wants it, you just download it off the web. There's a bunch of data oriented groups. For example, the group I'm working with, we provide this so-called event data, this distillation of news articles, and we post new copies of it every week. Anybody can download it. And the climate stuff, actually, interesting you mentioned that. So I was on it was a major rollout of a UN and World Bank or IMF project about a month ago on exactly that data. Because what they realized was in the response to COVID, they thought they had more data than they did. And there were some missing data in some really key places of stuff they didn't realize that they were missing. So I think it was a couple $2 billion that they're investing in getting this data more consistent, readily accessible. So when the next COVID comes along, which it will, but once you've got this, you're just building up a firmer base. Yeah.
Is the data sets, are they all common to each three
No.
dozen research units? Are they all playing with the same data?
We wish. If you talk to any data analyst, 80% of the job is getting the data cleaned and in the right format. And then you analyze it, that's 10%. And the last 10% is explaining what you got to whoever you're trying to explain it to.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jesse. So how caring and how collaborative are these 100 or so groups? Because at the end of the day, that you do want the data clean, and to kind of hoard it and be proprietary wouldn't really be, what is the idea there?
Right. And again, I would credit this a lot to the younger generation. The data sharing norms are very strong now. And again, they can't be 100%. There's intellectual property issues and stuff like that going on. But my generation, it was still okay to quote hoard data and I got to do this for it. And a lot of times, people would literally die before they analyze the data. The younger generation has no time for that whatsoever. It is transparency 100%. Everything has to be replicable. In other words, if you say, here's my equation and here's the results I got to be able to duplicate that. And if I can't, one of us is wrong. And they're just absolutely adamant about that. So there's a lot of really nice tools out there now. And again, all this stuff is open source. You just download it from the web. It runs the first time. It's just like, how many different batteries are there for small gadgets? Well, there's about a dozen of them, but it's not that everybody has the same battery. We all use AAA batteries, but once you get beyond that, it's all sorts of, and I think it's the same way with data.
You mentioned that you publish newspaper articles. Beyond a semantic search engine, how do you make that into numbers that can be put into a model, or is it not important?
Oh, no, it's quite important. I've spent the last 30 years doing that.
Okay.
That basically was one of these things that originally we needed the data. So it's like, well, I don't want this to become my entire career. Well, became my entire career. But, everybody's got a story like that. We're going to be releasing, I hope, could well be within a couple of weeks, a brand new data set based on these transformer models that everybody's talking about, which really are truly amazing.
What is the transformer
Can you
model?
give us a little?
I'm sorry. Yeah, these are, so you've seen all this hype about stuff. They can write stories, they can translate text,
Right.
32 pictures of Gandalf in 40 seconds. We can use those same things to, Dolly and stuff like that, and then GPT-3 and there's a bunch of them. And they're hugely, they take a lot of hardware, but it's successful. You can get the hardware you need from Google for $10 a month, which is very cheap. So meaning they got more than they want to do it. But anyway, but it's still very generous. And so we can use these to say, take a chunk of text and basically ask a question of that text. There's a whole method with these called question answering. And we can say, okay, does this text describe a protest demonstration? And if it does, the demonstration, and we say, what is the topic of that protest? Well, they're protesting the inflation and the corruption in the government. Okay, we do that, and so forth. Yeah,
that could be a game changer.
It's actually marginal in the sense that we had other methods of doing it. We used a variety of methods over 30 years, but it is a game changer in the sense it takes a lot less work to use these new methods.
Mm-hmm.
It did. These old ones took quite a bit of
Yeah,
work.
and I guess that computation, that not necessarily knowing the answer of what you're looking for is you're looking for something, might be an ease of use for some of this. Having the algorithms on top that they're based on could be helpful, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we did, and this was using the older technology, is just ask yourself, or we're asking the computer, tell us what, we just gave them a zillion, I don't know what the zillion was, but several tens of thousands of newspaper articles, and said, tell us what the topics are that people are talking about. And it turns out, they're nothing really counterintuitive, but we could actually there are algorithms that allow you to say, okay, these are mostly talking about legislation. This is talking about election. These are talking about protests. These are talking about acts of violence. Yeah. And you can do that kind of thing. And then you can iterate back and forth. And I got a thing in Norwegian whaling. Well, that's probably not worth having a separate category.
Well,
even though people don't like whales are very upset.
Yeah. It might be nice to have some different
Yeah.
kinds of things that you're analyzing. But Philip, thank you so much. This was
Well,
fascinating
thank you for the
conversation.
opportunity.
Thank you, Phil, very
And
much.
one last question, though.
Sure.
Leave us with a little bit of, you said you're optimistic. Love always hearing about young people coming in and kind of trying to set the record straight, full transparency. But in this country, how are we going? Which way are we going right now? We're going forward or backwards?
Oh, there are people that say we should worry about democratic backsliding, know what they're talking about. And I'm just speaking as a citizen here. Well, I'm speaking as a political scientist. Yeah, no, there's this stuff that we're seeing. And if you compare it to authoritarian regimes, for example, in Hungary or Turkey, it looks very similar. And that doesn't mean we're going to go into a civil war, but there's a very strong anti-democratic tendency in this country right now. Yeah.
So everybody pay attention.
I thought we were going to go with the optimistic thing.
Optimistic.
I think we have to be realistic. So cautionary tale. And
thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip.
Sure.
Great to be
Bye,
here.
you guys. Thank you.